XP technology starts out as stainless steel, and they can make it really skinny, and they put it into a machine and they embed titanium nitride into the stainless. So the two metals become one, and it makes it really, really, really strong. And so you can make things skinnier and not have to worry about them breaking. You can also make things skinnier and they stay sharp for the lifetime of the instrument. I think that's one thing that hygienists need to realize. Like, you can have 4 or 5 different brands of instruments in your cassette, and that's okay. Because you need to use what's best for your hands, what's best for you ergonomically, what's best for your patient population. There's a lot of money for hygienists to start programs that goes unclaimed every year. So tap into those resources and Google dental hygiene grants or grant opportunities. And I hear companies quite often say, oh, we have this grant, but nobody applied for it last year.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.
Welcome back, everyone, to this week's bonus episode brought to you in partnership with Young Dental. Young Dental, for those of you who might or might not know who they are, if you've been to RDH Under One Roof in the past several years, there is used to be the Friday event, music, dancing, DJs, really these biggest events ever. I think they usually called it the Night is Young, right? That's who was putting those ones on. They love and they support hygienists. For me personally, they have supported me multiple times throughout my career. So it's great to get them partnering with us on this podcast. And in this episode, we have on Dr. Emily Boge. This is one that was recorded at RDH Under One Roof. So again, the typical disclaimer, you're going to hear a little bit of that background buzz noise. And it's fun. Again, if you guys haven't been to RDH Under One Roof, registration is open. Go do that now. But with Dr. Boge, we talk about lots of things. We talk about instrumentations. We talk about instruments, metallurgy. We talk about how listening to the students helps her and the team that she works with make better informed decisions so that they have better outcomes, more buy-in from the students, a better collaborative effort. And then later on in the episode, she talks to us a little bit about grants and grant writing, that process, and how really actually simple she kind of makes it seem. I know it's probably harder than she made it seem, but we covered a lot in this episode. We're kind of all over the place, but it was really good. It's always great to have her on. She always teaches us so much. Lots for you to learn from this episode. Special thanks again to Erika Flateau for filling in as co-host. It's always much better to have more people on the show. It's more fun. You get different perspectives. So thank you for helping out, Erika. And thanks for listening, and enjoy this bonus episode with Dr. Emily Boge.
A tale of two hygienists.
Welcome, everybody, into the interview portion of the podcast. We are joined by Dr. Emily Boge, who is a superstar in real life, but when she comes to here to RDH Under One Roof, she is a mega superstar.
Oh my God.
I should have said like something lower than superstar at the beginning. I couldn't really top it, but you are like, you can't walk down a freaking aisle.
Stop it.
Get on stage, the whole entire 2,000 whatever hygienists are whooping and hollering. The most famous hygienist we probably have in our profession. So hey, welcome to the show. Thanks for gracing this little tiny baby podcast show.
I know. So now that my head can't fit in this room, then little tiny baby podcast show. That's cute.
It's adorable.
Yeah. So what a week here.
Yeah.
Holy Moses. I have been so fortunate to not only get to hang out with you guys who are, are my buddies, but you come back to this show every year and you see your friends, and like to physically share air with your friends again is like the best, most soul-filling thing. I feel like these kind of things just, they fill up my bucket for the whole year.
Yes.
And then it's like, I think that's why I'm addicted to trade shows. My name is Emily
You
Boge,
are absolutely
and I'm addicted to trade shows.
Well, I think though too. This show's there's lots of great shows out there. I guess this is owned by the people that do Under One Roof, but this isn't a plug for Under One Roof. I just think here you have a different type of hygienist audience. You have a different person that is going to show up here that's going to want to network, that's going to want to, like you do, invent stuff, who's going to want to be a speaker, who's going to want to be a writer, who's going to just want to evolve into the next step while still maybe maintaining, their clinical status, but they want to evolve to the next step. And that kind of energy gets me excited for the future of our profession.
Same. I'm so excited specifically for this convention every year because there's educators here, there's entrepreneurs here, there's clinicians here, there's researchers here, but guess what? They all are at heart. They're clinicians that haven't forgotten about wet finger hygiene.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people don't like that term, but I personally love that term.
The wet finger part?
Wet finger hygiene. I love that term because it's in our heart of hearts, if you see a picture of super nasty calculus, if your fingers don't itch anymore, then I feel like you've lost your hygiene heart. You know what I mean?
Yes. I mean, who's going to scroll past that video of the suction and those Bridget calculus that's coming off with ultrasonic, right?
Yeah, I call
we
those.
Love those.
My sons say it's ASMRs, but I like to call those ASMRs.
That sounds like you.
ASMRs.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
As an aside, which I'm sure Young doesn't want us to probably talk about, the pimple popping ones are also kind of an interesting one too.
I am obsessed with those.
Are you really?
My husband's like, you are not well.
There's
so satisfying.
Some of them are really good. Sorry to gross out you listeners. This isn't what we're going to be talking about. We're going to quickly switch over to something that's more
I like it when they
professional.
voice over too, oh no, and then
Oh, God. Sound effects.
I love that. Well, that's how they get the little TikTok views, right?
for sure,
they gotta do all
you
that.
got to have the numbers up.
Bogey, when was the first time you came on the podcast?
The dawn of time. I don't know. It's
Early
been-
on, right? You were.
I was like an OG.
Was the 513 the first thing we talked about?
I don't remember. I think so.
I'm gonna have to look it up. I think
I
it
was
is.
on an educator one when I was a baby educator.
You
When
might have been.
I got hired at Hawkeye and I went right from teaching CEs to licensed hygienists to running a dental hygiene program. And I think a lot of people in the industry were like, what in the heck is that school thinking, hiring her? But at that time, they didn't need another educator. They had a million brilliant educators. They needed
Sure.
a leader to organize and unite the team and, get some stuff on paper. And so I think a lot of people in the industry were like, what? Her? What? But, it worked out and I'm still there. And, my faculty still is putting up with me. So, but I think it was an educator one with Lisa Barr.
So underneath is it Chicago Midwinter then? That was
Yeah.
underneath the escalators where we had that one. It was
Yeah.
terrible sound. If you're inclined, go back and listen to that episode, everyone. But that one was a little bit hard to listen to because it was I don't know if you remember, those escalators were clunk.
Right,
clunk,
right. And there
clunk.
was so many educators on it, and we were so excited.
It was so much fun.
probably the sound quality was a little wonky. But, for that time, going back, you were very innovative for that time for gathering people and getting the information out there. You were.
Well, thanks, buddy. But let's go back to your 513 because I remember, I think the first, I hadn't even met you yet. I think the first time I'd seen something was at a trade show. I believe it might have even been your face on the American Eagle
the
backdrop. Do you
poster.
remember that?
Yeah.
And so then I think that you were actually working in a booth, demonstrating it and things like that.
Yeah.
Can you give us an update on the Boge 513?
Okay, so 513, way back when I was in clinical practice, way back, it wasn't that long ago, but 8 years ago, I was talking with the innovators at American Eagle, and I got introduced to XP technology, right? And so for anybody who's listening, XP technology starts out as stainless steel, and they can make it really skinny, and then they put it into a machine, and they embed titanium nitride into the stainless. So the two metals become one, and it makes it really, really, really strong. And so you can make things skinnier and not have to worry about them breaking. You can also make things skinnier and they stay sharp for the lifetime of the instrument. So the other thing to remember with that is every time you pick that instrument up out of your tray, it's the same instrument. You're not whittling down a medical device, right? You're not altering a medical device by sharpening it. You have the same device over and over and over again. And so it's very beneficial. But the other thing it brings you is new instruments that you can make with different angles and different cutting edges because someone doesn't have to sharpen them. And that was the joy for me behind Boge 513 because I had used other hose before. I had designed other instruments before. stop it, other instruments before. And, okay, back on track. But kidding aside, like every time I had tried to sharpen a hoe before, stop it.
Have you sharpened boats too?
Stop it. Oh my God.
No. Get back on track, Boge.
I'm sorry. It's me.
Young,
it's me.
I am so
it is
sorry.
me. It is me. Anyway, so anytime you try to sharpen a hoe cutting instrument, scaler,
Yep.
you have a very hard time because that angulation is just wonky. It's not something we're used to sharpening.
Yeah.
And so that's what turned a lot of people off of using it was like, I use it, 3-6 times in 3-6 different mouths, sterilize it, and it gets dull. Well, this one doesn't do that. It's also more shaped like the mandible, so we made it kind of a more of a gradual, rounded declination of the terminal shank. It's a little wider. It just works real well for lower anterior, especially people have recession. Upper molars, especially around the parotid area where people will have recession and get that calculus. And the back side of the hoe cutting edge is not sharp. So you can gently retract the tissue, get up underneath that bridge of calculus and shave it off. And so it's morphed into having a whole bunch of different uses. But the bottom line here is it's made out of something you don't have to sharpen, so it can be made thinner, it can be made more durable, and it's just been incredibly successful. I'm amazed how many hygienists will come up to me at meetings and be like, "Oh my God, it's you!" Like you're the one who created that instrument. And I'm like, "Oh, you know about that?" Like, I'm still just it blows my mind, like that you can have something in your brain and you make it, and hygienists find it useful. It's so cool, and the instrument itself, you have the Nebraska 128, that really skinny sickle scaler on one side. You got the modified hoe on the other side. So the two ends pair really well together.
When you were working clinically, what challenge were you facing where you were like, we need something better? What was happening?
I was
gave you
using
the idea?
another brand's hoe type instrument. I work for a dentist that graduated, Dr. G, I think it was 67 he graduated, and then he practiced like 40 some years, and he loved hoe scalers, and he's the one who kind of introduced it to me. And this other hygienist that did my training, her name is Tanya. She's fantastic. No, her name is not Tanya, it's Tanya. Sorry, I have too many Tanyas in my life. Tanya, she did my training for me when I was just a very young hygienist, and I didn't know that. We didn't learn it in school. And so she taught me how to use it, and then I just thought, what if you could make this edge longer? What if you can make it? So then I would buy other instruments, and then I would sharpen them down to try to make what I was wanting to create, which is actually illegal. Don't do that because it is a medical device, and if you alter a medical device beyond its use, then you get in big trouble. So I would try to make these, and my husband is in the metal industry too. He's a machinist, and so I used to, he taught me how to weld. I do other things with metal. So I really got into the study of metallurgy and learning about the metal itself. And not all instruments are created equal. And I think that's one thing that hygienists need to realize. Like, you can have 4 or 5 different brands of instruments in your cassette, and that's okay. Because you need to use what's best for your hands, what's best for you ergonomically, what's best for your patient population. Maybe you work with pediatrics, and you need things for very small mouths. Maybe you work with a lot of elderly people, and you need something that is better in cases of recession. Like, you need more durable scalers that can remove a lot of tenacious calculus because the population you're seeing has more of that. And so it's okay to have multiple companies in your toolbox, because if that's what's going to help you do your job to the best of your ability, then that's what you need to have. And we really supported that at the school. When I went to school, we all had one brand, and that was like the Bible of all. You didn't deviate from that brand.
Right.
Now at our school, we're currently using 3 different brands of instruments, and they're all very high quality.
Can I ask about that, though? Because I feel like, at least early on, especially when your instrument first came out, there was this misconception, or maybe there was some truth to it at the time, that you couldn't have XP instruments in with non-XP instruments also.
The thing with that is it's not currently the situation anymore. You can have them in with the stainless. What you don't want to do is put them in a non-neutral ultrasonic bath. So the key is having a neutral ultrasonic bath or a neutral solution in your instrument disinfector. And it's not a dishwasher. Please don't ever call those a dishwasher. I made that mistake once in Europe where everyone has one of those. Yeah, so it's a thermal disinfector. Those things run at a higher temperature. They have a higher measurement of time, and it's a thermal instrument disinfector.
Okay.
And so at the school, we use those. But what I had to do was make sure that we were using the neutral pH solution, because that's what's going to keep your XP from corroding or starting to discolor, get kind of weird looking.
Good to know.
Did you say that in Europe, all of them have dishwashers?
Not all of them, but a good majority of dental practices
Really?
have
So,
thermal
that's the
instrument
standard.
disinfectors,
that
not
thing.
dishwashers.
Yeah, that thing. So that's their standard that they're all trying to move to?
Yes, because
Is that our standard here?
it should be, in my opinion, but not everyone shares that opinion.
Interesting.
And
I
I don't
think our
feel-
standard is cold sterile.
I
right?
don't
Still?
don't ever say cold sterile to me, Erika. Stop it.
You still see it some places.
No, this is what I do when I give my infection control lecture and somebody talks about cold sterile. Like I do a hard
When is it okay
air
to
through
use
the
cold
teeth.
sterile?
Never.
What
We don't
about
even have it at
mission
school.
trips.
I do not believe in cold sterile.
Okay.
I would rather see a pressure cooker be used
Okay.
than a cold sterile. There's so many, and there's people here who would probably fight me on that because they sell cold sterile solutions, but there's so much room for error in that process.
Yeah.
You don't know who put instruments in there, what time of day they put them in there. You don't know whether it's a 24-hour solution, 48-hour solution, 72-hour solution. Is it a 10-day solution, 7-day solution, 1-month solution? There's so many variables, and anytime there's a variable in the sterilization process, there's a room for error. The chain of infection is a mean beast.
The look on your face, you're so aggressive about
I am
this.
so
Oh my
passionate
gosh, she's
about
gonna
cold
fight
sterile.
you, listeners, if you use cold sterile.
Dude, I am a Highland warrior.
I know you are. Do you want to talk about that on the podcast? We're going to talk about the college and the improvements, but if you want to talk about Highland Warrior
Well,
games or Highland Games, whatever.
It's my previous life. I do have a trophy and a medal.
All right, so
So,
that's going to be.
awesome.
We want a tip episode on how to be a Highland Warrior
Okay,
champion or whatever.
got
they
it,
call
locked
them.
in.
Okay, so over your time, you were saying that you worked at the college, things have evolved. You're doing obviously amazing things now, like the head honcho of 2 major programs out there. What other improvements have you made in that time, and why? What came to your mind of like, I have to change this?
Well, and the thing is, you have to listen to your students. And that's one thing, I've spoken in a couple different states and a couple different countries, and over and over and over, I hear that message from students. We're not heard. No one's listening to us. And I really try my best to listen to my students. I always tell them, if you have a good idea, write it down. No idea is going to be shunned by me. I will consider it. And so we have to listen to our students. So I do a lot of student surveys. I'll ask the students at the end of the program, what suggestions do you have? You can be as brutal as you want. They're completely anonymous. I've learned I can't take all of them to heart because otherwise I will cry a million tears. But you have to listen to students. They have great ideas. And one of the things I heard the first couple years I was there was, Boge, we get out into the practices and they have all these other instruments and we only have one brand. So do you sharpen them the same? Do you sharpen? Well, there's not enough time in school to teach you how to sharpen everything that there is. But there is time to expose you to some different types of things. And so, different types of brands, different specialty type things. And so we've made some changes in that aspect. The other thing that we just made a huge, giant change is we built a new clinic. We moved in last August. We went from 18 chairs to 25 chairs.
Yay.
We have 24 stationary units, and we have 1 mobile unit. And so this year will be the first year where the students will have to prove a competency using the mobile unit. So they'll have to do a patient using the mobile unit, show how you'd care for the mobile chair, how you'd set up the mobile unit. It's very rewarding for me to be able to provide that to students. Also, now that we have that mobile unit, it opens the door to, hey, if I could write a grant for maybe a van, maybe take the van downtown to some areas that we can't usually access with our full clinic. So it opens the door to some other things that I want to do at the college. The other thing we did when we built the new clinic is we prepared ourselves should the opportunity for advanced practitioner arise in the state of Iowa. So as we moved down that road, we used to only have 4 operatories that had high-speed capability for high-speed handpieces. Now we have 10. So we planned things. We went from air-driven to electric-motored handpieces for the high speeds. We planned things, and I wrote a really generous grant that we were given by the Delta Dental of Iowa Foundation, and they helped us get what we needed that was above and beyond what was budgeted. And so when they came into the picture and they wrote us that check, they said, hey, you're not going to skimp on equipment. So if there's something you want, go with the better option. And then the school supported it because we brought in the money ourselves. The dental program did that. And so we worked very closely with our foundations on campus and wrote this grant, and we got it. And it was great. And that's another thing I want to, if you're a hygienist, no one can tell you no until you ask.
Yeah.
And I am a firm believer in, I've gone out there now, and I'll just, if I want something, I'll ask for it. What are they going to tell you? No?
Yeah.
And so, if you build your case, write the grant. If you don't know how to write a grant, do it. And if you don't do it right the first time, then do it again. That's what I did.
You didn't take a grant writing course, or you didn't have someone that was like, can you quickly go through that little process? What is the writing process? I took
my master's degree, and so my master's is in public administration and healthcare, policy
so
writing.
You're way more qualified than the rest of us to do.
No, but
to write something.
All kidding aside, legit, what you do, you go online, and most companies that are giving money away have a form, and they ask questions, and you go through and you answer these questions. And when I write a grant, you just try to align your mission. So you have to go into it, do your homework first. So you have to say, I'm Emily Boge, what the heck do I want to do? Well, I want to start a mobile sealant clinic. So what do I need to do that? I need this and this and this. And I need to come in with a list. And I need to have my budget prepared. And I need to have a working plan on that. And if you need help, ask somebody to help you with that. I mean, the intelligence in the dental hygiene community that doesn't get tapped into blows my mind. Call somebody, ask them. What's the worst they're going to say? No, I can't help you right now.
Yeah.
But all kidding aside, with sometimes I joke around about things, but it's a question and answer format. They will say, what do you want to do? I want to provide sealants to children because I want them to be able to retain their teeth. The incidence in my community of decay is this, and then cite your source of where you got that information. Then the next question is how much money you need. You write down how much money because you've already done your homework and figured out how much money it's going to take to get what you need.
Do you shoot high or you shoot actual based on your...
What I have coached people, and again, free solicited advice through this podcast, so my lawyers will be sad if I don't mention that, shoot for 10% to 15% higher than what you were quoted. Because especially with the supply chain right now, and I was told by a company, you need to have bigger asks than what you're asking because the scope of the project is going to grow on you. And so ask your friends, get some opinions. Like, hey, Andrew, I'm going to do this. What do you think of that? Hey, Erika, I'm going to do this. What do you think of that? If you say, well, Emily, you're a little lofty. Why don't you start smaller? Your friends are going to be honest with you if they're really your friends.
Yeah. Is this, okay, so let's say that I wanted 5 portable units. Am I saying that this is probably, no one cares about this question but me. Am I saying, okay, well, I know this is $5,000 per unit, so I'm going to go by 10 or 15% more per unit? Or am I saying I want a 6th unit now? And
no,
then
you want to say I want 5 units, so I'm going to ask for 10 to 15% more money than what I need. And then I'm going to go in and say, with the potential to grow in the future, because I know that this is a sustainable grant, because then you're opening your door to when they give money in 2 years and you can ask again.
Yeah, that's good.
And I want to put a quick plug out. There's a lot of money for hygienists to start programs that goes unclaimed every year. So tap into those resources and, Google dental hygiene grants or grant opportunities. And I hear companies quite often say, oh, we have this grant, but nobody applied for it last year. And it's like, I know there's people doing good things and they don't realize there's this free money out there. It's kind of like students. I always tell students, have you been to financial aid? There's 1 million scholarships over there. And they're like, what? Like, no, you have to just put your name in the pot. They'll give you some money. It's great. But this grant writing process, there's probably going to be people who listen to this that get mad at me for saying, but it's easier than I thought it was going to be. I was making it more hard than what it really needed to be. And at our school, I was fortunate, we have grant writers, but that's the same thing she says. Answer the questions. answer the questions. We're going to pretty it up to make sure you don't have any punctuation errors, add the college mission statement, do all that with you. But ultimately answer the questions.
Do you have to have like a 501c3 or a certain particular type of organization to be able to be qualified? Or can I say, Andrew, I want to just start like a sealant program?
It depends on who you're asking the money for.
Okay.
So I know with the professional association, and there's different grants that are offered through the IOH. Some of them you have to be a nonprofit. Some of them you can be an individual in your community. Some of them you can be a for-profit and still get grants. Can I name drop
Whoever you want.
program? So like Smiles Across Montana.
Oh, yeah.
I go out there and volunteer at the native reservations with them. They have asked for several grants. They get paid. They have employees. They have to pay their employees. They're a public health entity. I believe that they are considered a nonprofit, but they still have to pay their employees.
Right.
So, I mean, you can call Crystal and talk to Crystal about that with Smiles Across Montana, how that's set up, because I know that's something she's very passionate about, and I know that she would appreciate people asking her for advice because she's very passionate about it, which is why I used her for an example. But there's so much available out there, and there's so many people who want to do philanthropic things. There's companies that want to give, but they don't know how. They're busy, selling product and marketing and getting their name out there. They don't have time to do that. But if you want to do that, they will maybe, throw you a few dollars.
Yeah.
What would you say to the hygienist that's listening that's like, I have big dreams, I'd love to make a difference. Who do I band with? Who do I look to? What do I do to take those first steps? Just those first steps that are going to be so important, that are the hardest to take.
Totally a cliche, but get your butt to a conference like this and get to a networking event and go around and you meet somebody who has a nice smile on their face and introduces themselves and says, hi, I'm Erika and I want to be your friend. And then you say, hey, Erika, do you know anybody in public health, or do you know anybody who has ever started a sealant program? And Erika says, you know what? I have zero interest in public health, but my friend Tammy, she's done that and she can help you. Let me get you Tammy's number. You know what? Tammy's right over there having a glass of wine. Hey, Tammy, this is my new friend. That's how business happens in this industry. I will argue it till it's not what I know. I'm not that smart. I know really smart people. I do. And I tap into the collective mastermind of dental hygiene. That's how you get business done.
I agree.
I'm going to argue on the point that you're not that smart, because you are.
No, but
You haven't known her long enough. Don't worry, Boge. I'm on your side. You're not that smart.
I can, I have 2,000 contacts in my phone, and I will find you someone who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So just come find Emily and you'll be all set.
Yeah, well, I made some new friends. There's a lot of first-time attendees around here.
Over 600.
Stop.
Not
Really?
even kidding
Is that
you.
the number?
Yeah.
And one of them, she had made a comment on Facebook last week, and I made a comment, find the giant blonde girl, and I'll help you out. And she found me. And she's like, you're the one who
are you the one?
Like, totally. 100, 513 right here.
Can we go back? I just want to talk, because there's a lot of educators that listen, and a lot of students, surprisingly, that listen to the show. And I think they're going to be a little bit jealous in the fact that you're able to give your students a varied experience with instruments. So how do they do that? Because I feel like it's got to be really handcuffing to the educators to be like, this is the budget. This is what we've always used.
Right. No, well, you can't say this is what we've always used. That's the first thing. You need to get rid of that phrase from your mind. Because if you're not changing in this industry, then your students are not going to have the opportunities that they deserve. I'm sorry, people can hate me for saying that. First thing you need to do is make sure you have consistency. So we have a fantastic fundamentals of dental hygiene teacher. And she ultimately decides what instruments and what order they're going to get taught. And she will say, we're going to start with stainless. And so I'll go to the companies that make stainless instruments, and I will bring back some samples, and we'll talk about it as a team. And if we decide to have a new version of that or a new company, then I'll run the budget numbers. I'll call the company and I'll say, this is what I'm using now. We're very interested in your product. We'd love to get it in the hands of students who could potentially use that for the rest of their career. However, cost is an issue for me. What can you do for me?
Yeah.
And these companies are just so excited. Anything they can get in a student's hand, they're excited.
Yeah.
And so that's what we do. So we start with stainless. The first year, the students use stainless. The second year, they get their sharpen free kit. the Sharpen Free kit also has some other instruments from other companies that aren't Sharpen Free that are more specialty, more perio type instruments, because now they have a semester of perio under their belt, and then they get ultrasonic training in that second year too. So they roll into Clinic 3 and Clinic 4 with all the instruments they need to succeed in life, and we train them, right? And so that's how we do it at our school. Is that the right way to do it? I think so, and I hope so. There's other schools that teach ultrasonic first.
Sure.
There's different schools of thought, but that's what we've been successful with at our school. And so we make those types of decisions across the board. It's not just instruments. All our students use headlamps and loops, mandatory.
Interesting.
So I go to a headlamp and loop company and I say, I'll sign a 5-year contract with you if you give me the best price you can give me. I've done my research. I really think you're the best on the market. What can you do for me? And so our students get headlamps and loops, and they do not pay a lot of money for them.
Well,
awesome.
to that point, though, too, XP instruments, I mean, at least when I was buying them, because I've been an XP fan since I've been practicing buying my own stuff, right? It's been forever. I realize that there's a giant price difference.
There's a giant price difference when you work at a school.
So how do they afford it? How do they bring it in?
No, if you work at the school and you practice part-time, you can't buy at a school price. That's illegal. I get that question all the time. Oh, can you buy me some instruments at school price? No, that is not okay.
It's funny.
No, so it is a huge discount. They, I don't know how much I'm supposed to say, but they pretty much take a loss.
Okay.
But if you think about it, okay, if I have chocolate bars and I want to get you hooked on my chocolate bars, what am I going to do?
Make them and give them away for free.
I might give you one for free, right?
Thank you for not using the example of like crack or something.
Can we also address the American Eagle Young? Because I think we switched interchangeably a little bit throughout this.
Right. So it still confuses me. And there's so many companies that are going through this, right? This branding confusion. So what happens is you have many small companies and you have only so much of a workforce that can man your company, right? And so it's getting to the point now where some of these bigger companies will buy many smaller companies and they'll be the parent company.
Right.
So you'll have a whole C-suite of executives and then you'll have the individual brand managers. So it used to be if I sold micro brushes, I would be the micro brush, I would own the company, I would work the booth, I would do all the things. Now it makes more sense with the way business is done globally to have a different structure. So bigger companies are purchasing the smaller companies and then helping them manage and facilitate, right? And so you have Young, who's a bigger company that purchased American Eagle, which is a smaller family-owned company in Missoula, Montana. And so what gets confusing is, do you call them Young? Because when they're on the trade show floor, they're the parent company.
Right.
And then it's kind of like Mountain Dew and Pepsi.
Right.
If I didn't know PepsiCo made Mountain Dew and I, said, oh, I work for Pepsi, but I work on the Mountain Dew line, people would be confused, right?
Right.
And so it's Young, but the brand American Eagle never changed. The quality never changed. The workers at the factory are still the workers at the factory. It's just a name difference.
So when if I'm an educator and I want to reach out to somebody, am I reaching out to Young or am I reaching out to American Eagle?
You're reaching out to Young. Okay. And then you're telling them that you have an interest in American Eagle brand product.
Excellent.
And then under the American Eagle umbrella, you have Talon Tough and you have XP, which Talon Tough is American Eagle's version of stainless 440A stainless, just basic stainless steel. And then you have XP, and then also you have titanium instruments now. So you have that, implant cassettes too. But it's just different variations on the same, parent company.
I love it. Boge, we've taken up so much of your time. Thank you so much for being on. Everyone always wants to contact you. What's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Well, I live just outside Farley, Iowa, by the Field of Dreams movie site. Yeah. No, ereiner@hotmail.com is my current address, or emily.boge@hawkeyecollege.edu. If you go to thinkbigdental.com, that's my website, has all my personal contact information on it. I don't know why, but my thinkbigdental.com email has not been working the last couple months, and I have not made time to figure it out because I literally have been home 3 days this month.
Oh, jeez.
We took the family to Alaska.
Yeah.
Then I was at ADHA, and now I'm here, and Yeah, but it's such a blessing. I don't want to be like, oh, first world problems. No, it's seriously, it's such a blessing in the industry. I was on a cruise in Alaska, run into some dental hygienists. I mean,
So crazy.
We're everywhere.
and we're also golly darn friendly. It's
And smart and
attractive.
handsome and beautiful.
I know, right? Stop it.
Jeez. All right, that's enough. Thank you very much, Boge. Appreciate
Later.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.